So I've watched you apply some of your skills, both privately and with individuals and in groups over the years, and I have seen you demonstrate a remarkable degree of success. And I personally attributed it to not only the tools that you brought to the table that are commonly used in relationship counseling, coaching, personal growth, but also the non-ordinary sensory experience, the cues and clues that your awarenesses bring you, that you simply bring to the attention of other people. And as soon as you bring it to their attention, they seem to get it. And can you talk a little more about the non-ordinary experiences that you experience, that you've taught, that you've made me aware of, even more aware of, and how you apply them, how they're relevant?
Yeah, and I want you to give me an example, a specific example, and I'll use that to cue off to give you a great response. I don't know what it is yet, but it'll be good.
In some of the earlier seminars that you did, you used a family constellation organization around the problem solving that you did. And some of the things that came up were literally problems with people that were not in the room. I mean, there was many of the things that were brought to you had to do with challenges in interpersonal relationships, where the representatives weren't even there. And still, you created a circumstance where they were thoroughly and believably, palpably represented in the room so that the circumstances could be solved. What is that about? How did you do that? That was almost miraculous in the results that you achieved.
I really like what you're asking, and I'm going to answer that question later. What I want to hear from you is you ask about the non-ordinary regarding personal work. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people are doing constellation work, and some of them are very good, and some of them are, and they're working in the non-ordinary way, and some are simply doing it more psychologically. And some people won't know the difference. And I want to go with your question, but there's something else that I think wants to be said, and it will come from a personal, ask me about a personal example.
Just by way of example, in my own personal life, I brought some family issues to you which had been present in my family since before some of my siblings were even born. And after my mother died, I had issues around a trust that was created and the dissemination of her belongings and assets, and kind of negotiating in our family circle to make this work for everybody. I really wanted consensus, and I really wanted everything to be done as my mother intended and out of love. And there was some contention in our group, and I brought this. And we were not only able to resolve it amicably, but I felt that after that, I had a lot of support from the other family members for whatever we did. And we really pulled together and came together. And I attribute that directly to the work that you did with me. So how did you bring that about? How could that happen? Just turned it completely around.
Thank you for being specific. I can answer that.
Yeah, it's easier.
One of the things that happens when I work with people or listen to them talking, if I so choose, I can direct my awareness and my attention in such a way where I can see what's going on within the system of the self and the systems that they are a party to. And often I see what to me looks like little filaments that I can follow from you that connect to other people or circumstance or institutions or culture. One of my teachers described the mechanics of the energetic attachments or connections as being very similar to the old-fashioned telephone operator, where they were women that would sit in front of a circuit board and plug in cables and unplug. And that fitted very much what I saw about these connections, because I would unplug them. And I would do that indirectly. And so we are all, and energy itself is a metaphor in this context, but we're all energetically connected to biological family members, our adult family, to the places where we work, to the cultures, and to our race, on and on and on. And there are all these little filaments that connect, and some of them connect us to people or circumstances or events that create drag on our system, and are heavily weighted, so that there's a drag or a gravity that keeps us from lifting or propelling our lives forward. And so in the case when I work with groups of people, I see those dynamics, and I have other people stand out and represent certain individuals and characters, and they too have awarenesses of the connections. But yet I can do the same thing individually without other people. I can see this. And so when I work with your system, there's simply a series of connections attachments that I remove, or connections that are not yet firm attachments that get changed, and I unplug some and plug some into the other. There are also acknowledgments that acknowledge and honor some circumstance or event. And I'm going to take a little more time in responding to this. That if you've ever thought of or seen singing bowls, whether they're brass or crystal, and when they're struck with a mallet, or a mallet is dragged around the top, typically they vibrate and utter a sound. Well, think for a moment, if the sound or the vibration was impeded, that there could be no vibration or utterance of sound. All that force from that mallet is contained in that bowl. We're similar. Whatever it is we are, and with our lives, the forces of life blow through us, and when circumstances and events happen around us that are disconcerting or traumatic or problematical, unless we are capable to have a proper utterance to express the impact of that trauma on us and clear it, it's retained in the system, and we are entangled with that event or people involved, and we carry that with us through time, and we go through our lives attempting we say things and do things that are an attempt to clear that event or trauma, but they're ineffective. Because we don't know specifically what it is, because of the way our mind operates is that goes into our unconscious awareness. So we forget to remember. We know we're troubled, but we don't know the source. Nor do we know the right expression. And working with, whether it's in constellations in a group or with somebody like me individually, that can go in and look at causal events and find those connections and disconnect them. Then people are free. Not always, but often when someone is raped, whether it's a man or woman, typically it's women, there is a place where everything inside them freezes. Psychologically they freeze, their body freezes where they cannot utter a sound perhaps, or they can't move, but energetically they freeze too. So that in that moment, for whatever drives that sense of freezing, maybe it's a survival thing, there is literally no way to express and release and release her angst or her pain or the indignity of the assault or the brutality, whatever it is. And any kind of trauma, or whether someone else would think it's traumatic or not, when we experience a trauma, particularly one that is wholly unexpected, it finds purchase, and we are often prohibited from the expression, culturally, socially, or if you ever had the tragedy of watching a parent tell his 7-year-old daughter, "Oh, you're not supposed to cry. We don't cry here." We're trained to shut up, to not express when it's of utter importance.